Hey buddies, welcome to Mass Games. My name is Simon. I'm going to give a video for you for Paladins of the West Kingdom, and this will be a review, an overview, and an unboxing. And that's because, as you can tell, this obviously hasn't been punched yet. Now, there is going to be a trilogy video comparing all three of them, and I'm using a different tripod today. And this is the second in the trilogy. So Paladins is set in 900 AD, and I'll talk about that a bit more in due time. The metal coins are in fact in Architects currently, so these have now just got the wooden coins in it. And in this particular game, it's the longest of the three. You're looking at about 90 minutes to 120 minutes. And Paladins, just to let you know, is basically one of the 12 people, one of the 12 peers that works with Charlemagne, if that's how you pronounce it correctly. And the leader of which, the chief, is called Palatine. So very similar to Palpatine from Star Wars. So what I think about this game, well, let me talk about the review as well, as I mentioned. So in this particular game, I think it is wondrous and mighty, is how I've worded it on Board Game Geek. The downtime, well, there is some between the rounds and during the rounds, and it can feel a little too long. It does take up a lot of space, particularly at a player count of, say, 5. We're standing up around a bench, I recall that one, and it did take around 3.5 hours for that first teach for 4 new players. So I thought I was actually doing well in that last game, and ultimately you do need to be high on the vertical tracks. Now, you have a player board and you have a central board, and as you'll see, I'll just chuck these out in due course. And as I mentioned, I have been ranking these 3 games. My rating for this is presently an 8 out of 10. Obviously, I have various different colours for various different people. Here are those other coins for, obviously, if you wish to be playing with a different a lighter game, shall we say. If you're playing those metal coins, they do add a bit of weight, but this is a borrowed game, and this was actually backed on Kickstarter, which was for all 3 of the West Kingdom games, plus 50 metal coins, and the Tomb Saga campaign, which you play across the 3 games, and there's a solo mode as well. This is also soloable, so if you wish to play this game and try it out solo, you can of course do that. And of course, please check out the various playlists that I have, such as for solo games, as well as for how to set up, play and review, unboxing teasers and trailers. People do seem to like videos such as this because they don't necessarily need to know how to set it up and necessarily play it. They just want to have an overview on what it looks like, do it has the kind of materials, and as like Kickstarter, many people just back things based on how they look. Well, speaking of that, it's the same artist as the other games in Garfield Games' trilogies, for example, in the West Kingdom trilogy, as well as for the other trilogy that I talked to you about. And that was the North Sea trilogy, which I have talked about in the other videos. And you might know that as much as I've played, including the expansions of Raiders for the North Sea, I did like Explorers for the North Sea. It's the one I've played the least of that out of Raiders, and I haven't actually played Shipwrights, which I know has got a lower rating. So as you can see, these boards are double-sided, and you're only going to need 1 per player, so that's going to go out there. You're also going to be laying out a few other bits too, and that includes a board that everybody can work with, a communal board, and that is over here. As you can see, it's just one-sided, and it's good to have it black on one side too. This is where you're creating a wall, and as you can start to see, it is quite difficult now to start getting everything into shot. So, of the 3 games, I will tell you this much: this has the most prettiest look when it's kind of completed. I know that isn't exactly how it goes, it's going to go side by side. As I mentioned, it does take up a lot of space. So, let me talk to you about the history of this particular game in terms of what the theme is all about. So, Paladins of the West Kingdom is set at a turbulent time of West Francia's story, circa 900. Despite recent efforts to develop the city, outlying townships are still under threat from outsiders. Saracens scout the borders, while Vikings plunder wealth and livestock. Even the Byzantines from the east have shown a darker side. As noblemen and women, players must gather workers from the city to defend against enemies, build fortifications, and spread faith throughout the land. Fortunately, you are not alone. In his great wisdom, the king has sent his finest knights to help aid in our efforts. So ready the horses and sharpen the swords. The paladins are approaching. Okay, so the aim of the game is to get the most victory points. Those are VPs into the game, and you can gain things via various methods such as building outposts and fortifications, commissioning monks, and confronting outsiders. Each round you will just help basically to specify a paladin and gather, and I'll show you those in a moment, and gather workers to carry out tasks. As the game progresses, players will slowly increase their faith, strength, and influence. Not only will these affect their final score, but also determine the significance of their actions, and the game is concluded at the end of 7 rounds, as I mentioned. So, in terms of these various things, we do have debt cards. We have debt cards down here, similar to the other games. And as I might have noticed in the other video, there is actually the most amount of workers of those games. So this is a worker placement kind of game, similar to Architects. It doesn't have so much in common with Viscounts in that respect, but having those cards and playing through them is going to be important. So now we can start opening up these various things. As I mentioned, these boards are going to go off to the side, that's off to the left, that is off to the right, and you have various people up above that you could be acquiring. Okay, so aside from that, again, if you're playing with the AI board, please be aware of that as well, because that's going to be important to decide which side you want to be doing it. So, moving on, we're now going to talk about the various other things too. Let's have another quick look at, of course, both sides of this board. So that will be the board in question, and let's have a look. In fact, sorry, no, it's that way around. Okay, so our 12 Paladin cards. These are various cards that you need to be aware of. Let's just go through and open up some of these other little bags and show you what's in there. So basically, this is the game overview. It's going to be over 7 rounds, and each round, players will select a Paladin to assist them, along with 6 new workers, and in turn order, basically moving clockwise around the table. Players will each take a single action on each turn, and then, or on their turn basically, and then play continues until each player takes 1 action at a time. And that's basically until all players are passed, similar to the game Architects of the West Kingdom. Now, once all players have passed, there's a quick reset of the main board, and you basically bring out new townsfolk and outsiders before proceeding to the next round. Oh, fantastic. These are those promo variants. So here are those 12 Paladins in questions, 2, 3, 4, oh, that's interesting, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I think those include those extra ones as well. Let's have a quick look at them. Cool. So that could be them. So those are them. We've got these promos in question, which are all pretty nice. Again, all these cards are different for each of the different games in the trilogy. And here we go. There's a variant 1 before shuffling their Paladin. Each player chooses one of their 4 promo Paladins. Okay, cool, got it. Okay, that makes sense. Ah, the Peddler. The Peddler's back. So we do have the Peddler. And they have the Abbot again. So we do have that in Viscounts as well. And it might be in Architects. It has been the least time since I played Architects. Okay, so again, over those 7 rounds, you're going to be passing the starting player marker, but of course you wouldn't in that first round. And you're going to be reading the King's Order cards and the King's Favours. I'm going to quickly whip through these as well. So what King's Order cards do is they offer bonuses. They're scoring opportunities for all players. And note, of course, the various scoring flags that you could be scoring as well. So these are the kind of victory markers you're looking up. Okay, so again, we've got various cards in play here. These are beautiful cards for the walls that I really do like getting constructed. So the wall cards, I've got those debt cards, those deed cards again. And yeah, fantastic. Cool. As I said, this is just an overview video. And then again, from that draw pile, you're going to be drawing various cards from that tavern as well. Here are those acolytes. Acolytes are back in play again, similar to the other games in the series. In particular, I recall them in Viscounts. Squires are back as well. Of course, they are using different effects than you would be in the likes of Viscounts, let's say. So yeah, similar symbology and similar art. That's quite nice. So here are those King's Orders I talked to you about. Here are those other cards as well. Some of those leaders. Those lovely cards as well. So various things are going to be going out. You're going to maybe, do you want to pray? Do you want to go to various different locations? And again, what do you want to be doing it? And during that round structure, you're looking to ultimately see if you can get things up on the wall. And I'll just show you this from the rule book, just because, again, due to the limitation of where the camera is positioned, just so that you can see exactly where everything goes and keep the detail up to speed. So here, that lovely wall, that fortifying, that I said looks fantastic. And absolving and that garrisoning, and then attacking and converting, which is also great. Now, this game I feel is a little bit like Village, if I was to compare any of these games. The first one I'd say is a bit like Stone Age, so i.e. Architects. This game I feel is a bit like Village, and the last game is a bit like Crown of Amara to a degree. But again, I hope you found that of interest. That was a very quick overview. That was not a how to set up player review. It's uncommon for me to do videos like this, but I hope you found that a little bit of interest. about just the premise of what Paladins is all about. Any questions, please let me know. Thanks very much.